And now we will have the third part of our presentation and our movement. Quite simple, quite clear. We will launch a new board because we like and really love to work with boards. We will have a simple conversation one more time, and we will present one or two general questions. The first question goes like this. Could exist systematical failures at multiple public registries since 1988, considering the global events 2014 up to 2022 at least, and the integration of them all on budget by the silence has, unfortunately proved as criminal association. Which is your position? Federal prosecution, local prosecution, federal police and local police, and judicial system in all levels? Can you present your reasons by law? Then we will consider that we will have in mind something like this. If this kind of hoax can go by many types of ways as action, kind of threatening my effort, threatening the relation as my effort and the needs of the Federal Bureau of Investigation for security and stability, threatening the system or the entire industrial portfolio of Microsoft system or the Google Android and social media. And since we both have the same interests as research this 33 trillion by separated things, I would say you kind of will have maybe the research like this. Can you get? Your situation, criminal offender, is terrible, and you suffered, at least was suggested by me, 1 trillion financial punishment, which is it's not the same thing as this 33 trillion charge, as compensation with ambition presented by this value, by your behavior, always by falsehood, always by clandestine movement and things like this. We will check that indeed this is, let's suppose, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and I will put as the alpha. It's the alpha interest. To have clear, here is the map, right? And guess what? We are complaining, you criminal offender, at the judicial power. Through this judicial power, using this judicial power, 0.33 trillion, 1988, 2022, segmented by budget, and the failure on budget by the same criminal offenders acting against my research, or for instance, against the Google when you type at your machine something like kind of, let's suppose, a porn actress really fat in Brazil. And this porn actress, really fat with the fat ass, decided to use the criminal system installed on public institution plus corporative peers to act in a new way and obtain advantage. For instance, 1 million, 1 billion or something like this, then create a big party or a marriage party or something like this with a lot of estimative accounts on it. And in general, the supply chains with problems. Use it to offer discount police and discount for real business, suffering the choke by public departments, and will, of course, be trending to the price lower, and then the price lower come associated with investment, you cut the investment plus the choke, and then you will be entirely at the supply chain that is associated with the gains. By this kind of, risk operation using your public system as judicial system, it means that our offenders will be the same, acting by public department, especially with lifelong chairs. Is this confirmed? That we can operate like this, and using the consumer law in Brazil only to present the case to the judicial power in charge, because the decision do not belong to a system that commits crimes. We will consider that maybe the purpose as doing things and keep things illicitly, and considering the result and the arguments as declarations to keep the criminals inside the departments or do not have them fired on the cooperative offices, now will be declared or may be under the analysis of this judicial power that can present their reasons straight and very according with the Constitution, for instance, the USA and the premise, considering that corruption is always corruption, even inside the organized crime. And having only this as argument, you kind of have no other way to declare their guiltiness. But sometimes we have failures as a minor judge or the entire Supreme Court that will impact this situation here. 2022, we told you, why do you consider that we will have the continuity of this exponential behavior as criminality integrating all local areas inside this pandemic event until 2028? If we can track you all by the public budget, considering this case crossed with the case that must be presented by Google and Microsoft, research in the 33 trillion in offering with both, like my research considering the offer as supply and the demand as need, pointing to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to the judicial power in USA, because the Federal Bureau of Investigation belongs to America. They two both have no relation in the public budget Brazil. The two companies, I don't know, maybe they have or maybe they don't have, but they will kind of be under the analysis of this judicial system. And this judicial system will be under the analysis of them all, as international business, as Federal Bureau of Investigation that must report distortion as treason and misuse of the state power to the Department of State, USA. Have the CIA very inside the, the stage, I would say, to research deeper this company. They go where no one can go. So we will move like this. And I think that you that has this estimative in the future indeed will be here. Because we can track you all today and send you all to jail today by the American judicial declaration on American embassy or using an official vehicle, even in Brazil. For instance, if you have the invitation to the authorities on that tiny city full of problems, like a beautiful woman that indeed is a bag of disease, you kind of will have the opportunity to hear there or do the prison. What's the problem? There's no problem, it's the law. Corruption is always a crime. And public corruption is always a worst and most serious crime. You will be here, and this expectation that you have indeed, you, as you always do, will project at the insurance area or ways to have the compensation as your expectation as criminal result by the criminal scheme, failure and evidence exposed and proved by law, by algebra, by mathematics, by astrophysics, whatever. You know, because it's something that belongs to your nature as a failure. Since from the very beginning, crime is failure. Criminals loser. Crime is lost. Criminals lost and lose everything since their freedoms until their life. In many areas, they have this as consequence. Then we will check that if this goes as international crime, for instance, in Brazil we do not have the prison for this kind of people. Maybe we do not have in America, but the international prison must, host international criminals, especially on pandemic events, especially on international events like FIFA and the leagues. Our business, international, is international prison law. First one, 2022, with the FIFA Olympics. Judicial analysis, okay. Control of the judicial analysis as use of state power, okay, by America with compliance made from the Federal Bureau of Investigation plus the compliance and GRC on Microsoft and Google. Any problem? No. All standard. Then you will depurate this judicial power. If it has failed, they do not have the good behavior that justify their payments according with your own constitution. And if they do not have the good behavior, the state power hasn't the behavior properly and the accomplishment as capacity will be at the same drama, I would say, observed in Brazil. And to prevent this, because you are on present time, one of maybe the strongest nation and the financial system and all things. Then we will check like this. About 2022 up to 2028, hosting all transnational organized criminals as international criminals, which will imply in general the heads of organized crime. And organized crime will have no heads anymore. So, we have values to do this. The tracer, as general tracer, goes like all things come on regular area, but with the misuse as -1, trained in -1, models was exposed. Then we check that the value 0, 0, +1 is equally guilty to both. And we have another one, which sometimes is that criminal, that, got an office chair. And then the complexity of this dangerous behavior brings the morality of criminality to the regular area, goes like this, they are all guilty. But the case of, for instance, criminal areas with the corruption by the plea bargain, or the informant, or witness protection, or infiltrated agent must be observed. All these to prevent the new mafia's mobilization, organized and set, prepared, arranged for public department that can control a lot of things. Interconnection always by public stamp with, in general, the accreditation only by the stamp or signature as observed at this pandemic year. We'll finish our arguments today, Monday, 16 May 2022. We are requesting the analysis of, the continuity as citizenship Brazilian by the evaluation observed as trending from corruption to criminal behavior as conjuncture, cutting the relation by soil and blood, reasons to have the punishment of them all right now by the request to be a person on American embassy, present their reasons by law. All traced on public body at Brazil, and considering the official vehicle America to track them and cut them from the offices and companies and things like this. The research of 33 trillion by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and my independent effort as supplying their needs as security and intellectual asset, I would say, and the cross-cut by the Google system, Android and Microsoft system Windows hurted by this kind of violation. We can have the industrial asset, for instance, threatened by violation of mailbox, social media, or something like this. And this entire thing brings to our self-defense, and our self-defense depurated by issues we presented, for instance, as a guideline, as an industrial portfolio that you can offer to the mate or something like this, even to push this case a bit harder against the offenders and use, for instance, the budget or something like this to have these boats prepared and launched this year. What's the problem? It's so simple to do this. You only must have the will and the integrity to declare the order, because the machine had all things made. Have a good night.